Chapter 19, Savonarola, the preacher who challenged the Renaissance. Florence had become one of the great centers of the Renaissance. Artists studied the human body. Scholars rediscovered ancient Greek and Roman texts. Wealthy families filled their homes with paintings, sculpture, books, and beautiful objects. Then a Dominican friar named Girolamo Savonarola began telling Florence that something had gone terribly wrong. Savonarola arrived in Florence during the 1480s. He was a powerful preacher, and his message was frighteningly simple. Florence had become too wealthy, too extravagant, too obsessed with pleasure, and unless the city repented, God would punish it. At first, Savonarola was just one preacher among many. Then his predictions began appearing remarkably accurate. He warned that disaster was coming to Italy. In 1494, King Charles VIII of France invaded. Florence panicked. Lorenzo the Magnificent had died 2 years earlier, and his son Piero lacked his father's political skill. When Piero made humiliating concessions to the French king, the Florentines rebelled. The Medici were driven from Florence. Suddenly, the city that had been dominated by the Medici for decades had no Medici ruler. And Savonarola's influence exploded. He never officially became Florence's dictator, but his sermons helped shape the new republic. He demanded moral reform. Gambling, extravagant clothing, sexual behavior, and other supposed vices became targets. Even Renaissance art wasn't safe. Savonarola condemned objects he believed encouraged vanity and sin. In 1497, his followers collected cosmetics, mirrors, expensive clothing, playing cards, books, paintings, and other luxury objects. They piled them into an enormous structure in the Piazza della Signoria. Then they burned it. History remembers it as the Bonfire of the Vanities. Imagine the contradiction. Florence, the city of Botticelli, Brunelleschi, Donatello, and the Medici, was burning objects representing the very culture that had helped make it famous. But Savonarola had made powerful enemies. One of them was Pope Alexander VI. After years of conflict, the Pope excommunicated him. Florentine support for Savonarola began collapsing. In 1498, he was arrested. He was interrogated and tortured. On May 23, Savonarola and 2 fellow friars were taken into the same Piazza della Signoria where the Bonfire of the Vanities had burned. They were hanged. Then their bodies were burned. Savonarola had challenged the wealth, politics, religious corruption, and cultural excesses of Renaissance Florence. For a few extraordinary years, he nearly transformed the city. But the Renaissance survived him. And the Medici weren't finished either. They would eventually return. If you found this informative, there's a tip jar in the description. Thanks for watching.